Hey everyone, TimaeuSS here, and welcome to another Honkai Star Rail video. So our CM bros have been cooking, alright, and JingLiu is honestly a complete beast, top tier waifu. We've seen on the private tier list, she is already S+ tier, but for the CM bros, they're calling her the best E0S1 unit DPS ever release. That's right, just because of how overloaded her kit is, and you don't need higher eidolons for her to completely take over the game. She just does so much. Of course, there are a couple of things we want to go through as well in terms of her limitations and her future prospects, but in this game we'll cover the build guide, the relic choices, and the team building section as well. So let's get to it. Well, now currently the CM bros with JingLiu, they are basically looking at the best ink slot in terms of gears, right? You've got your quantum set and the eye set that are her viable choices. What they're saying at its current moment is that if you are running JingLiu with a Pela or Silver Wolf, units that can give defense pen or defense down, then it's much better to use the quantum set for that. Even if the enemy is not quantum weak, you still get 10% defense pen. And if it's quantum weak, then 20%. This is really good because of the fact that the defense down formula, it basically gives you more the more defense pen you stack. So if you're using Pela, using Silver Wolf, your defense pen, Quantum Set is going to be the best. Ice will give you that crit damage, but JingLiu already gets so much, okay? It gets so much. Now, the difference is very minimal. However, it's much better to farm the Quantum Set because of the other set that comes from the Quantum Set, whereas the Ice set, the other bonus is not that great. So they're suggesting farm quantum set because quantum set can be used on most damage dealers as well. So that's what I've done as well. And if you're using Pela, which is I believe one of the best in slot supports for JingLiu, then of course quantum is better. Now looking at the main stats, they made a mistake here and they clarify as well. This is crit damage. Okay, so you want crit damage chest, speed boots, ice orb, and then attack. And you can consider energy rope if you are, so I'm going to move out of the way. You can consider energy rope if you are E6. They'll talk about it, but in 99% of the situation, it's going to be attack percentage rope, right? So ice orb, attack percentage rope, speed. You can run attack boots as well, but unless you've got some crazy setup where you can get 134 135 speed with just attack boots, then you go for speed boots. For her kit, for JingLiu's kit, you get a ton of attack boost, right? If you have allies with a certain number of HP threshold, which we'll talk about, then you don't need to worry about the attack stat. So go for speed boots, aim for that 134, 135 if you're using Bronya 134, and it will be a much better rotation. And then of course crit damage chest because she gets a 50% crit rate inherently when she transforms, and she has massive amounts of crit damage in her kit. So you're gonna be looking at an insane amount. Now in terms of skill upgrades, go for the technique, the talent, sorry, go for the talent as well as the enhanced attack or the skill, which is more important than the ultimate, and that's more important than the basic attack. So looking at basically attack rope giving you 2,300, so this is with quote-unquote their average gear, okay? This is the stat line with average gear using what we talked about. So 2,300 attack with attack percentage rope, and 42% crit rate, and 230% crit damage, which is honestly huge. That's a lot of crit damage. So if you're using energy rope, you're looking at 1,800, and again, don't consider it unless you are looking at E6, okay? Unless you're looking at E6. Now, this is what they talk about in terms of the HP threshold at E0, okay? At E0S1, the HP threshold you are going to look at, I believe, is above. Let me take a look. They mention it. I do believe it's about 15,000, no, 12,000. So basically all your members just needs to be around 3,000, slightly over 3,000 in terms of HP, and you'll get the full amount, okay? You're gonna get the full amount in terms of the buff. And this is just going over the rest of the stats and saying that, JingLiu's speed is actually quite a bit, right? 105 with all the speed, and she's quite SB neutral in the sense that she doesn't consume a lot. In few cycles, that you'll be able to see in Memory Chaos, similar to Blade. It's not SP hungry in comparison. So that's the breakdown. Now let's take a look at, we'll skip ahead into the relics. So they'll go over some of the relic choices. You can go again for the ice crit damage if you want, and then this is the part about attack percentage or energy rope, and it's 100% most of the time going to be attacking attack percentage rope. And the rotation that they are using, and this is post you transform out, right? You use 2E to go into the transformation stage, and then you get to E, and then you get to Q, and these big letters EQ, EE, those will be under her transmigration state. Of course, when you're starting out the fight, if you use the battle technique outside and come in, you will be able to transform right after the first E. So this is basically missing an E in the cycle, just because when you start the fight it's completely different. So, and you also need to land a kill, I believe, for that extra 5 or 10% that's missing. So that's the rotation, but you're going to be spamming E a lot, and because when you're under the transmigration state you don't need to use skill points, so that's all right as well. So let's take a look at some of the other choices. They've got the 2-set speed plus 2-set ice, so you get 10% ice bonus and then 2-set speed, or you can use a 2-set attack, so 12% attack and 2-set ice. Again, the current thought process behind this is that there isn't a massively insane amount of best in slot gear, so you basically can use the ice, you can use the quantum, or mix and match. I do think that once we get into later patches, we'll be having some more best in slot relic choices for JingLiu, but at current rate, you know, just go for quantum. I farm it for Seele and I use it on Danghan as well as JingLiu. Now going over the LightCone. The LightCone honestly is one of the better LightCones released so far. Humongous amounts of base stats, okay, and a 20% crit damage with defense pen plus a damage increase. So it has it all. This LightCone really does just have everything in one. So if you can get one copy, 100% do go for it. Some alternatives are there. For example, you could use the Arlan cone, and they talk about the synergy between this LightCone and Blade, but they're saying that the damage increase is minimal, but there is the Arlan cone, and also there is, right, the this is the Herta cone, the destruction Herta cone. That is not bad at all, so you can use that. It actually does perform a bit better than the Arlan 4-star max, so you can go with that. Now in terms of the team composition, basically Pela is arguably the best support for JingLiu, just due to the fact that at higher Eidolons, she will be able to provide ice resist down, right? So that's going to further increase, of course, JingLiu's output. Now here, they do recommend this LightCone, which offers more defense pen, because the more defense pen you stack, the more damage you will do, right? The damage calculation, as you can see, is favoring more defense pen stacking. But there is going to be another mission cone that I know a lot of people are running, myself included. That is the Silver Wolf mission cone, which is essentially allowing Pela to 2 basic attack ult every single time with the Wind Relic that gives her push, AB push, action bar push when you use the ultimate. So she gets insane cycling. So you can do that as well, have a better upkeep on the Pela defense down. But here for the scene guide, they do recommend the other LightCone, which I don't think everyone has built. Now Bronya, this is a bit more controversial. From the scene guides I've seen, Tingyun is not strictly favored over Bronya, but I think for the global side, Bronya is not necessarily the preferred support, right? Because of course Pela, we all agree, but Bronya, because of how the action push happens and how Bronya's push only lasts 1 turn in terms of the buff it provides, you're gonna lose quite a lot of damage output when she does the push. Now if your Bronya is higher Eidolons and E6 giving 2 turns, ignore me, but for the lower turns, this is their recommendations, okay? So you want to have JingLiu just 1 or 2 speed faster than Bronya, so JingLiu goes, use a E basic attack, Bronya pushes, and then JingLiu will be able to E on the smaller, so this is pre-transmigration, and then she will enter the migration stat and then go into E with a big one, and then this time she should have maxed energy, but you don't ult. Okay, you wait for the Bronya ult, into the push, right? And then you'll be able to QE with that. So this is their recommendation on the rotation. I don't think this is the optimal rotation for zero cycling, because I mostly do zero cycles. You can see from my live streams, I do 3 unit zero cycles, because 4 is pretty much auto now. But this is the rotation they're recommending. This does work better when you go into the second wave, because you're not going to have 50 starting out at 50% HP and also 1 stack of her transformation stat, right? So this is E, Bronya push on the smaller E, big E, saving that ult and into the big E when it's Bronya's turn. So that is one way to do it. Personally, if I was starting out, I would do JingLiu's E. She transforms, she gets the push, big E, and then Bronya can push into the big Q. Potentially that's another way of looking at it. But Bronya, they do like it on CN, especially with the amount of buffs she provides, because JingLiu already has a ton of attack percentage and crit damage, right? So they definitely want more DI. So JingLiu, Bronya, Pela is their recommended, and of course Bronya on Vunk, so that she gets the push initially and she can do a basic attack to start the fight, and then giving that SP. But personally, I run a slower Bronya, so this is a more faster Bronya rotation, but I run a slower Bronya, so that she can just push right away. But for CN, they like to do the E to open with Vunk, JingLiu goes, and then Bronya opens. So you can see Pela starting out, Bronya basic attack into Pela basic attack, and that should give her enough. And E, normal E into transformation, and then Pela will be able to ult, and then Bronya E with energy enough for the ult, and then that will basically give JingLiu a massive amount of damage output. So that's their breakdown. They do talk about the other choices. Technically, with Pela and Silverwolf and their signature cones, you're looking at almost nearly 100% defense now, which is good in the sense that it does not rely on JingLiu's turn, in the sense that JingLiu takes so many turns, right? So the traditional buffers that last 1 or 2 turns is not enough. For example, even Tingyun, which has an attack buff that lasts 3 turns, sometimes is not ideal just because how the speed and the tuning works. So you can run double defense down, and JingLiu herself will not get insane amounts of buffs, but she herself will be able to do tons of damage on the debuffed target. So that's another team. So not going Pela, Bronya, but Pela, Silverwolf. They do talk about Tingyun again in the end, but I'll just skim over it. But the recommendation is that it will mess up the rotation. It will mess up the rotation. They talk about it right here, right? Because it's basically 5 short on the energy regen. If you got E16, it's alright, but their recommendation is that if you do choose to run her, then what you will need to do is pretty much cast your ultimate from Tingyun on JingLiu when her ultimate is up, and you're negating the ultimate charge, but you're ulting with full damage coming out. So that's another way to play. Personally, I don't like that, and I will be slotting my Tingyun on my Danka. Anyhow, it's TimaeuSS here. I think this is pretty long guide. I don't usually go too in-depth for my CM Bros guide. I bring the conclusion. Otherwise, we'll be here for 20-30 minutes, and yeah, we'll probably just showcase the unit in a video, and then we can explain the rotation as well as the in-depth mechanics a bit more in that. So anyhow, let me know your thoughts. Did you pull for JingLiu, and how did she perform? Because I honestly think she is the best E0S1 in comparison to the other damage dealers. Alright, it's TimaeuSS here, and I will see you guys in the next one. Goodbye now.